Hello, Janet. So we're just going to base in his ears here. I have a few more bunny designs in my mind, so you'll probably see a few more before Easter's all said and done, or spring. This one's more of a spring theme, I guess. I think we're streaming here in the Craft Around the Clock group, and I think I got YouTube to work tonight too. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't check it, but I'll check it after, or if anybody's over there watching, you can let me know. I'm just going to turn this guy upside down a little bit so I can get this ear. Probably be easier for me to get them upside down. Sorry for the upside downs, but you can sprinkle this video out too if you are so inclined. I am good, Anna. How are you? Got some tight little spots in here to get at, so bear with me while I get this based. It's hard to say whether I will get all of this finished tonight. You never know until you get going on it, but I don't want to, rush it. It's okay if we have a part 2 of this on our next segment, like we did last time. That worked out fine. So we'll get as far as we can. All right, we have that first coat on those little ears up there, and then we'll just fill in his face. I'm going to get a flat brush for that. Is the background, where it is? It's light pink, Kelly. Very light pink. I just used a light pink paint and then just added white to it and made it even lighter. I just wanted a really light pastel shade because I kind of wanted my flowers and everything to kind of pop off there, which hopefully I have achieved. So we'll get the bunny based in, and then we're going to start working on these flowers once we get him kind of squared away here. We can start on our stems and all that good stuff. All right, so there's coat 1 at least on there. We're going to do the inner ears just with the pink color that I use for the background, but we're going to use it without putting white in it. So we're just going to leave it as is. Hello, Cecile. Oh, it sort of looks purple. Yeah, it actually does look a little bit mauve, doesn't it? But it's not, it's pink. Mauve would be pretty too, though. I mean, you could paint it mauve as well. It'd be a good contrasting color. I'm all about the pink. Pink and bunnies lately. I don't know what that's all about, but that's the jam we got going on right now. Okay. I'm going to give this a quick dry, and then I'm going to put another coat on my bunny. Thank you, Sue, for sprinkling the love. Appreciate that. All right, let's do this second coat, and then we'll get fixing this guy up. I'm just going to put 2 coats on. I think that should be good. Okay, we'll do his ears again, and then give it a good dry, and we'll add a little shading to this guy. Concentrating hard here to stay in the lines. All right, I think we've done it. Okay, so center of ears, we'll put a little bit more on there. Okay, now we'll dry that. Okay, we're going to use a little bit of slate gray and some of this darker pink. You started your bunny and then had a nap. Well, you must have needed a nap. Hopefully it didn't make you that tired. All right, we're going to do a little bit of just brush blending inside the ears here. So I'm going to put a little bit of that pink, make it a little wet there, and we're going to get some of that darker pink, and we're going to just blend that into this edge. Do the same thing on the other one. This bunny's not really complicated to paint at all. And it doesn't hurt that it's just his head that we have to paint. A little more in here. Just darkening that down a smidge. Sorry for all the spinning, it's just easier for me to reach. You know the drill, I'm always spinning this thing around. Okay, so we'll leave that spot for a second. Hello, Shelly. And we're going to just do a little bit of gray shading. So we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to blend with our brush. So I'm going to put some white in here just to wet this a bit and bring in a little bit of gray. And we're just going to go along the side of that inner ear. And then across the top of his head a little bit. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of white on there and blending that in. And then we'll come up the side of his ear here. And we're going to do the same thing over on the other side. Just at the top of his head, a little smidge. Get a little water on my brush. And we'll do the other side too. All right. So basically we just want to add a little bit of this gray around the outer parts of his face as well. And then we should be ready to start on our flower area. We'll finish the rest of his face after. So I'm just putting the gray on and then adding a little bit of that white back on my brush just to blend it down. If it gets too far out, I'll just add a little more white in here. Hello, Miss Denna. All right, and that's about as much as we're going to do on the bunny for this moment. We're going to start on our flowers now that we have him in place. We can finish his eyes and nose after we get all of our little flowers in here. Anyways, it's a good start. One more thing I want to do, I just want to add a little highlight on the inner ears over here. Put a little white in here. Okay, now we can start this foliage down here. So I'm going to use a little bit of light green, and I'm just going to put a wash down here. It just makes it look like the flowers are more full, so we don't have to paint as many strands of greenery. So we're just going to take our light green and put a wash of that on here. Let me get find my flat brush or my angle brush. So I'm going to water it down, and this is going to look sort of funny for a hot minute, but it'll all make sense in the end, I promise. Well, we hope it'll all make sense in the end. We don't have to be too particular about it either. You know, it's going to be behind all of those flowers and things. All right, and once this wash is done, we can start, I can transfer over some of my little sprigs of stems and that sort of thing on here and get painting those. Okay, just looks like a big old green blob right now, but it will be better in a minute. All right, we'll dry that. Hello, Sabrina. All right, that seems to be dry enough. So I'm just going to bring my little line drawing over here. And just as a guide, I have some of my stems already kind of placed out here. So I'm just going to transfer those over. I mean, you could freehand them. I did the first time. But once I had them on there, I thought, why not just trace over what I already did, save myself some time. But you really could do these freehand. They don't have to be in any particular place. Okay. Hopefully I can see them. what happens when it wasn't quite dry enough. So we're just going to add them in here where we think we can see them. I think that's it. I think we got it. All right. So I will just grab my little round brush and some green, a different colored green. It's a little darker green than the first one. And we'll just start bringing in some stems. And again, these don't have to be perfect. Certainly not, mine are certainly not going to be perfect. By the time we get all those flowers and things on there, these will be way in the back. So it just looks like a little green tree right now. All these layers will come together. All right, I'm not going to fuss with those too much. Thank you, Terry. All right, we're going to get our liner brush. We're going to do like a little bit of a darker foliage in here among these ones. And I'm just going to freehand these in. Again, there's no rhyme or reason where they need to go or should go. So I'm just going to take my liner brush and I'm just going to start pulling in some little stems of this nice teal color. And we're just going to randomly kind of squeak them in between these green ones that we've put on here. And you can see I've smudged my hand in my green ones, but it's okay because once we get all of our leaves on and everything, you'll hardly even know that I smudged it with my hand. That's the goal anyway. We're not going to stop and sweat it too much. All right. Just trying to follow my original and see if I can get it as close as I can. And then we'll bring one down here maybe. And I think I'm going to turn this way so I don't get my hand in that wet paint. Bring some down in from the center here. And then we'll start putting some leaves on these. And I'm just going up on the bunny's face there because I kind of want to make it look like he's hiding in behind these bunch of flowers, which is kind of where we want to go with that. All right, put a couple more in on this side, and then we'll start pulling in some leaves on these greens. Let's pull one up in here. All right, so it just looks like a mess of nothingness at this moment. So we're just going to take our liner brush and we're going to start, let's start right here, sort of at the, let's put one more of these in here first before I get too much further. And we'll start putting some leaves on there. So I'm just going to use my liner and put one right on the end, and then we're just going to kind of go push down and pull up all the way down the side of the stems. We're not going to think about it too hard. We're just going to pull them on there. And we'll do that for all of these little dark blue ones, the teal colored ones first. And then I think after we get these blue leaves on, I should give it a good drying before I go any further because it gets dangerously wet and I cannot keep my hand out of it. You kind of have to get a good kind of lot of paint on the end of your liner brush to get these leaves to come off of your brush nicely. So I mean, kind of like goop it right on the end of it. And then you have lots of paint there to make that leaf. Or a few in a row. Okay, we're going to keep cooking with gas here. And we have a little one down here we can add. Maybe I shouldn't have put so many sprigs in here. Ooh, we got lots of leaves to paint. Couple more. Okay, so let us, starting to look a little more like leaves and foliage. I don't know who that was in there, but he gone. Had some critter come in there. Okay. In the comments. All right, so we're going to use a little bit of this. No, we're not going to use that. We're going to use some of this green color of the first stems that we made. And we're going to add some bigger leaves onto those first stems. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to kind of mix the light and the darker green together. And we're just going to pull some bigger ones in here. But we'll start with a few tiny ones at the top. And then we're going to pull some bigger leaves down these stems like so. And these go a little faster. Just putting those small ones on the top and then adding some nice long ones down the base of the stem. All right, I think that's pretty good. And then next up, I'm going to use a lighter green, and we're going to put some lighter green on those ones we just put in there. Then we should be able to start some flowers. I don't know how much time we have left, about 10 minutes or I guess 8 minutes. So on any of these bigger leaves that I put on here, I'm just going to add a little bit of this lighter green on those. I'm not covering them up entirely. I just want to add sort of like a little highlight on here. That's got it. Put one there. All right. Now we can start some lavender. I think we got time to put some lavender in here. But I think it's safe to say this is going to be a part 2. Going to be a part 2 on our next craft round the clock. All right, so we're going to bring a little tiny stem up from our top ones here. And then we're just going to randomly bring out some of those tiny stems. This is where our lavender is going to be attached to. Just our little lavender flowers. Let's see here. Maybe I'll put it there instead. I mean, I can add a few now, and we can add more whenever, once we get some of these done, we can add some more in between our flowers to fill them out if we need to. So I'm going to grab some purple and I'm just going to mix it with a little bit of white. But first up, we're going to start putting our little lavender leaf or petals on here first with some purple, and then we'll take a little bit of white and add that. So there, that's pretty. And these are pretty quick little flowers to paint. They're not meant to be, at least my painting is not meant to be, super realistic. We just want it to be a nice illusion of the flowers. It's not meant to be perfection and still life by any means. Okay, let's see. Where did I put my little stems over here? Let's put this one in. We got 3 minutes. So I think as I go along too, I will, just kind of grab some of this purple and I'll be adding more, randomly in between here. But I want to get my other flowers in there first. Maybe I'll just add another one down here for now until we get our other flowers, and then we can fill in. You can see on my original how I filled in around all of these daisies. I kind of added extra little lavender sprigs in there, but we'll do that at the end when we get the rest of the flowers all together. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Nice to have you. First time here. Do I know when the next one is? Can you put it in your calendar? I'll post it, Sue. I'll make sure that I think it's, I don't even want to say it. It might be next Thursday. I can't remember what's on when my next Craft Around the Clock is. It is booked, but I don't have my book in front of me right now. Sorry. All right. So I think that's as far as we're going to get. He kind of looks a little discombobulated right now, but rest assured that next week we'll finish. And this is what he's going to look like when we're finished. He's much more put together in this beautiful final draft. But this is as far as we are. So you can see how we have to layer up all of the flowers and things like that. But anyways, this is as far as we're getting, I think, this week. So make sure you tune in. I'll post when I'm coming on again. And Tracy will, of course, have it on her schedule as well when I'm on next. But we will be finishing this guy on our next Craft Around the Clock segment. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. And we'll see y'all.